The strength of Biblio Monkey comes in when you store measure patterns that are things that you use regularly when you're building models. And the reality for a lot of us is that we tend to work on the same data or same structures, reinventing it in different ways a lot of times in order to build the analysis we need for work. Somebody asks just a slightly different version, but we need to create a new file. So I want to show you just another little thing here. What if I've got this measure pattern for burgers sold here, but I really want to make a draft sold pattern as well? So I'm going to go to Biblio Monkey right now. I'm going to go add new. We're going to add from solution because I've already got burgers sold here. And I'm going to go and find that one. So let me just close the queries down here. We'll go to burgers sold units. And I say this is pretty cool, but why don't I go and right click, add new prompt, and we'll just tag this one here and say enter category. I'm also going to go and set this one up as a whole number. That looks good to me. I'm now going to choose, I'm just going to go and put this one in here and put in category sale. Choose your category. There we are. So we'll say save. And now we have our category sale. So I can go and grab this. And you'll notice that if I wanted to inject it, I'm on a pro license, that will work. If I'm on a free license, what I would choose is I'd choose copy, and then I'd have to go to the power pivot, new measure, and drop the signature in there. But for right now, right from here, I can go and inject this one here, and we'll go and we'll say this is going to be draft sold in units. We're going to store that measure, not on my budgets table, but rather on my sales table. And the category that I'm going to be using here is draft beer. When I say inject, what you'll notice about this, if I now go and just move this out of the way a little bit here, oh, it looks like I didn't do something right as far as my, my categories go. Oh, I know why. I'm in food. That makes sense. Let's go to alcohol for a second. There we are. One of the things you'll notice here is that, again, on a pro license, when we go and we actually inject these, if you happen to be in a pivot table when you choose to inject your DAX measure, whether that is through this interface or whether it is through our Biblio Monkey interface right on the pivot table itself, at that point it will actually inject it properly into the pivot table and add it right away. So that's kind of a nice, nice little component there. Now, I also want to make another little pattern change here. I want to add something bigger because I want to show you just how we can actually use Biblio Monkey to tag things up in a much more targeted fashion. So I'm going to go to sales by date here. And actually, I'm just going to get Biblio Monkey out of the way for a second. What I have is I have a month to date units. It's totaling $19,911, and this is for May of this particular year. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to create a measure pattern that gives me month to date for the previous month. Now, to do this, I have a measure pattern already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Biblio Monkey here, and I'm going to go and create myself a new measure pattern from scratch. So we're going to go to measure, I'm going to choose measure, and this is going to be MTD X months prior. And I'm just going to call it the same thing, MTD X months prior. And now what I need to do is I need to paste in the measure signature that I need for this as a base signature. So here goes. Let me just drop this font size a little bit so we can hopefully fit most of it in. So the pattern looks like this. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger here so we can see it. Now, the pattern looks like this. And what you'll notice in here is that it's using if is blank. It's got a date add, start of month, last date. And you can see here that we're subtracting 1 month, and we're doing that twice. Now, if this is prior months, I'm probably always going to want to go and subtract something from this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab this, right click, add new prompt, and we're going to choose to put in a value prompt. And what this is going to say is months to subtract. There we go. So we get our new tag in there. Now it happens that that number shows up 3 times. So rather than recreate a new tag every time, let's go right click, use existing prompt, months to subtract. And again, we'll grab this one, right click, use existing prompt, months to subtract. So we actually get that same tag used in here 3 times. Now, in addition to this, we should probably also go and flag which measure we want to apply this to. So right here we've got sales units. Let me just back this up. Drives me crazy that I can't stop that. We're going to go right click. We're going to add a new prompt and we're going to choose to enter base measure. There we go. Now the final thing that we probably want to do in here is we actually want our fully qualified calendar primary key. And that's going to show up 4 times altogether in here. So I'm going to come back here, calendar date. We're going to go and try and grab that all the way to the end of the square brace here. We're going to choose to right click on this one, add new prompt. And in this case, you're going to see where we really go through and we actually give you a lot of different options here. So what I'm looking for is the qualified column for calendar primary key. And that's going to give me the table square brace column name reference. And you can actually see that if you hover over, it comes up in the tooltip text. And there we go. What do we want here? And this is just going to be select calendar primary key. All right. Now with this one here, I can then go and say right on. That's going to go into this one here as well. Right click, use existing prompt, calendar primary key. We're going to try and grab this one. Right click, use existing prompt, select calendar primary key there. And then we've got one more that we need here as well. Use existing prompt, select calendar primary key. Okay, so with all of those things now tagged, I can now come back and say, cool, let's put this in as a whole number, save it. We've now got our months to date, X months prior. And this will now let me recall this. And not only will it let me make 1 month prior, but I could actually have 2 months prior and 3 months prior very, very easily. So here we go. We're going to go and say exit on this. We're going to go right click here. And unfortunately, this has come off screen, but my insert from Biblio Monkey is down at the very bottom here. So it's a little bit off screen. So just bear with me as I go and insert from measure here. Because I'm on a pro license, the ability to right click and inject does show up on that menu. If you're on a free license, again, you would need to copy it and create your own. But what you'll notice here is that we now have the ability to say month to date. I can call this one prior month. Okay, I'm going to store this one on my sales table. My calendar primary key, calendar date is already selected because there is only one primary key from that, so I can ignore that. We're going to say 1 as far as months to subtract. And what's the base measure that I want to use? In this case here, it's going to be my sales units. So that's going to be fine. I'm going to leave this as alone. Obviously, I would probably want to go through and make this a little bit more clear as to what we actually wanted for our name. But at this point, I'm now going to choose inject. And what we should see here is it comes back with 10,226. And if you look at that, that's April 10,226. So this measure pattern is actually working. Although it isn't really the point as to the measure pattern working here, the important part is when I went to inject that function, again, whether I do it from the right-click menu that was off screen or whether I do it right from here, when I say inject, what you get is you get the ability now, let's go 2 months prior. We'll store this one again on sales. We'll make this one 2 months. Enter our base measure, once again, of sales units. With a pro license, you can inject, otherwise it's copy. But at this point in time, if I now exit, what we should see is that it should, well, I'm surprised it actually didn't add it to the pivot table. I'll have to go back and look at that code. But when we go back and do that, we can now see that it has actually picked up the appropriate period in this case too. So this is contextual tagging working on a more complicated basis to allow you to recall and start really reusing these patterns. So really good for time intelligence patterns that you might need to bust out for different models. Love to see that you managed to populate your Biblio Monkey database with some really useful components here. Thanks for watching this episode of Using Monkey Tools. To get your own monkey, visit our website at monkeytools.ca. Or if you subscribe to Skillwave's Self-Service Business Intelligence Academy, you'll get a free annual pro license included with your subscription. And remember, Monkey Tools was developed to support better Excel and Power BI solutions. If you want to learn how to really master these tools, you should definitely check out our full course catalog at skillwave.training.